And welcome back. The internet search engine, Google, this week announced that it will no longer censor content on behalf of the Chinese authorities and was offering uncensored content to Chinese users through its Hong Kong pages. So why the sudden move? And why, when Hong Kong is a part of China anyway, does it make any difference? Well, I'm joined from New York by China's most celebrated blogger and internet campaigner, Michael Anti. Michael, a warm welcome. And what was this move by Google a surprise?
Yes, I think it little bit surprised us because in January many people already expected this pull-out from China, but they actually not pull out from China, but now it's from mainland China. That means to Hong Kong website. Hong Kong lawfully is a part of China, and also freedom of speech can practice there. So it is kind of Google is a very smart move for Google company, because now they just kicked the ball to the Chinese government side.
But will users think it's better to be censored by the Chinese government or censored by Google?
I think for Chinese users, I don't think there is a big difference between that. Now they want to search something, for example, including the name of the Chinese president. They suddenly find something is wrong because the internet connection was cut off. You know, the best censorship should be the censorship you don't know. But now more and more people notice that. But everyone think they deserve to more free internet, more correct information, because in this information society, no one want to be a kind of second-class citizenship. So I think even many people, under the propaganda, they blame Google about this kind of Google versus China game. But step by step, more and people will start to buy VPN or try to find proxy to access more free internet. I think this Google move is kind of a wake-up call for the Chinese netizens.
A wake-up call, Michael. Is it a blow? Is it censorship? Or is it merely a development in the continuation of the freedom of the net?
I think it still have a long way to run, because the Great Firewall is very effective. It covered almost the majority of the Chinese netizens. Very few, I refer to numbers, very few population of netizens now can know the existence of the censorship. They use the free, but I think after this Google pull out from mainland China, more and more, I think we're joining the army of kind of a free internet, because we all think we are like American and like British, we deserve a free internet. This is just a hope. But in the short term, I can't see any big change of the censorship.
Michael Anti, many thanks to you for joining us from New York.
It's my pleasure.
With Greece in economic turmoil and mounting pressure on the euro, all eyes have been on Germany, Europe's economic powerhouse, to come out and help prop up the floundering Greek economy. After a certain amount of reluctance on Germany's part, a deal has been finally reached this week on a financial plan to help Greece, which would include IMF support. So how will this play out in an increasingly Eurosceptic Germany? And what does it tell us about the part Germany wants to play in European affairs? And I'm joined by Thomas Kielinger from the German newspaper Die Welt. Thomas, a deal of sorts has been struck. We don't know the full details, yes, but it seemed to be a reluctant deal on behalf of Germany.
Well, I mean, Angela Merkel had the most difficult job on hand, a real tightrope to walk. She knows that there is a huge amount of Euroscepticism in my country. Don't get Germany wrong to say that she's at the heart of Europe and she's full of enthusiasm for Europe. This enthusiasm for Europe has waned terribly in the last few years. And the idea that Germany could be the paymaster for all and sundry, who come along and committed these terrible fudge majeures that Greece did 10 years ago when she joined the euro under false premises. Nobody would want to do that anymore. So she had to be careful not to feed the Euroscepticism by agreeing to a German aid package, as it were. She had to be very careful. She has other sources available and not overpromise to come to the help of Greece, because that would have ruined Europe entirely.
Why Thomas, is the German public increasingly Eurosceptic? What accounts for that?
Well, I think the imbalance within the economic governance, as it's now customarily called in Europe, is basically the reason. We have a largely export-oriented economy, which means we save a lot, we have little consumption at home, very sluggish, but we put all our eggs in that basket, which means that we have a surplus, trade surplus, whereas other countries have more consumerist culture and haven't saved quite as much. And when push comes to shove, go to Germany to come and help bail them out.
So Germans feel perhaps that they are, German voters, German public feel perhaps they are carrying Europe?
They're carrying a lot of burdens of other people who like the easy life, and we think that we are virtuous, we save for a rainy day and work for a stable and accountable economy. There's a huge amount of ill feeling towards Greece and the conditions under which they entered the euro 10 years ago, which I call, and many in Germany call, a fudge majeure, and the help of American banks which allowed them to enter the euro. And now we see the chicken are coming home to roost, and we don't want that to happen again. That's why she attached certain conditions under which Greece can ever draw these facilities.
How have voters considered Angela Merkel's performance in this?
You know, it's amazing. She's not quite as strong at home as she appears on the world stage. In fact, her government, which has only been in power since last September, the coalition between the Free Democrats, which is a junior partner, and the Christian Democrats, is frayed terribly because they don't seem to be moving forward. They bicker too much between themselves. The Free Democrats, the Free Liberals rather have the sense of wanting to add to their own profile rather than work for the common good of the government. And so the polls are rather negative about their performance. And if she had not sort of pulled this out, this trick in Brussels, and come home with an acceptable solution, she would really have sunk her fortunes even more.
So she's got bad news with the polls at home.
Yes.
How does she get on with somebody else who's suffering a bit at home, Mr. Sarkozy?
Well, it was said that there was a huge split between France and her and Germany ahead of this summit. And both Paris and Berlin are keenly aware that this must not be allowed to happen. We need this tandem not to perform miracles, but you have to have a stable sort of core relationship here.
And what is the relationship?
What is the relationship? The relationship is one of size. The two together provide the biggest economic kind of wealth inside the economic union.
Do they consider they run the European Union, really?
They can't. They can't allow themselves to even think that, let alone to send signals that they are. We have 16 euro member countries and 27 EU members. And if any combinations of countries pretend that they can run the show or that they're instrumental, they will think whatever good may come of their relationship. So we have to be very careful. Yet, having said this, it's natural to assume that if France and Germany don't see eye to eye, nothing much will happen. So there is a sort of prerogative built in here that as a first step, you need to have community of purpose. And they did achieve that very craftily. Germany got her bit, the participation of the IMF in the Greek bailout facilities, and France got her bit, that 2/3, the majority rather, will come from EU countries. So France is concerned that if you call on the IMF too soon, it will make the Eurozone look weak. And they want Europe to appear stronger.
Is Germany a reluctant power?
Yes, very good word, very good phrase, Simon. For very obvious historical reasons. We have overplayed our hand, to put it mildly, 70 years ago. And Germany was a statement of a nation state, militarism, dictatorship, and all the rest that goes with the Hitler experience. And we have gone to the other extreme since, becoming a little bit understated, not wanting to talk up our inherent strengths. And it's a real miracle how Germany has rebuilt from rack and ruin after
a reunited Germany,
and now reunited,
a substantial European powerhouse.
Substantial back.
Do you see a time when it will start to sort of go it alone, perhaps, especially
no.
if it's been asked to bail out a substantial economy like Spain, for example?
Yes, no, I don't think you will ever see that in our lifetime. Germans have done with leadership and singularity. The key word is we must never be singularized. We always have to have allies, have to have partners in anything. So don't allow ourselves to be seen in a leadership position.
But are Germans embarrassed, I wonder, about, because a strong economy, embarrassed about having to call in the IMF to rescue Eurozone?
Not at all, not at all. I think the Germans are very happy to think that there is another facility, another source of help and assistance to be called upon. Because if you just left Europe to take up the burden of this situation, that would probably overstretch our ability. So let's go to that address, Washington, the IMF, where help can be had. But only 1/3 of it, but still, it's a significant amount of money, which would be 7 billion under the current figure that is being bandied about, 22 billion aid package available. Greece has not called upon it, and the IMF would provide 7 billion. That is enormous relief for Germany to think that the expectations are not solely focused on her to provide the goods.
Thomas, is this the end of the economic crisis in Europe?
No, it is just the beginning. And the agreement in Brussels yesterday, you have to read the fine print, provides for a new committee to look into stronger economic governance in the European Union altogether. We have to make sure, and that is a key condition that Angela Merkel stipulated, that such instability as was created by Greece will never allowed to happen again. And we cannot award the people who are serial offenders against the Stability Pact to go unpunished. So we will have a new system in place, which is going to early on provide a warning to those who might offend again, that there's not going to be much help. You will have to, get your house in order.
Thomas Kielinger, thank you very much.
Right.
And that's about it for this programme. Join Sir David and his guests in 7 days' time for another Frost Over the World. From me, Stephen Cole, goodbye.